The Galactic Council had tried everything. For centuries, they had ruled the stars, kept peace between species, and balanced power across thousands of worlds. But now, things were falling apart. Pirates moved freely through space lanes. Rogue eye fleets attacked without warning, and something darker was spreading, a force no one could name or stop. The Council met in secret. They were made of beings from all corners of the galaxy, tall insectoids, glowing jellyfish-like diplomats, floating brains in crystal shells. None of them looked human. None of them wanted to admit what they were about to do. "We have no choice," said an elder voice, belonging to a being that had not aged in 5,000 years. They had watched humanity for a long time, loud, messy, unpredictable. They fought among themselves, built fast, broke things, and rebuilt even faster. The Council had once decided it was best to ignore them, let them grow on their own planet, out of galactic politics. But now, they needed help. A message was sent. Not to governments, not to generals, but to a small group of humans who had no idea what was coming. On Earth, Karen Bennett was reviewing trade agreements when she got the call. She wasn't famous, she wasn't military. She was just good at talking and better at listening. Next to her sat David Holt, a former Marine who now worked as a security advisor. He didn't trust anyone, especially not aliens. "You're being invited to a meeting," said the screen in front of them. "Is this a joke?" David asked. "No," said the voice on the screen. "It's serious." Within hours, they were on a ship unlike anything they'd seen. Smooth, silent, alien. They were joined by 3 others. Lucas Moore, a quiet man who used to work in intelligence. Mia Garcia, a young engineer with tired eyes. And Tyler Bradford, a pilot who talked too much and laughed too loud. None of them knew why they were chosen. When they arrived at the galactic capital, they were met with silence. No red carpets, no speeches. Just cold stares and quiet whispers. "Why are we here?" Karen asked. An alien diplomat answered, its voice translated through a soft machine. "Because we failed, and you are our last hope." The humans were given a tour, but it didn't feel like one. The galactic capital was huge, a city built inside a ring around a star. Ships flew between towers that reached into space like fingers. Everything looked clean, perfect, and cold. Karen tried to ask questions, but the alien guides only gave short answers. David stayed quiet, watching everything, not trusting anyone. Lucas kept taking notes, trying to understand what kind of place this was. Mia looked bored, but her eyes moved fast, studying the tech. Tyler smiled a lot, but even he knew something wasn't right. After the tour, they were taken to a large room. Waiting for them was a group of aliens, tall, thin, with skin like glass. Their voices came through machines, sounding calm but firm. "You are here because we need you," said one. "Need us for what?" Karen asked. "To do what we cannot." They explained how the galaxy was breaking apart. Systems were losing contact. Trade routes were being cut. Something was causing chaos, and no one knew what. "We have rules," said another alien. "Rules that keep peace. But those rules are failing." David crossed his arms. "So you want us to break the rules?" "Yes," said the first voice. "In ways we cannot." Karen looked at the others. They were all thinking the same thing. This was bigger than they had imagined. Later, they were shown their mission file. It was simple. Go to a dead station on the edge of known space. Find out what happened there. Report back. "Why us?" Mia asked. "Because you are new," said the translator, "and because you do not follow our rules." The next day, they boarded a ship. It was old, not the best, but it could fly. They had no crew, no backup, and no idea what they were walking into. Tyler sat in the pilot's seat, checking the controls. "Well, this is stupid." "Probably," Lucas said, sitting across from him. Mia looked at the map. "This station has been silent for months." "Then let's see what's waiting for us," David said. Karen stood behind them, looking at the stars as the ship left the station. She didn't know what to expect. But she knew one thing. They weren't going to play by the rules. The ship flew through dark space for days. The crew took turns watching the sensors, checking maps, and trying not to get on each other's nerves. Tyler played old Earth music over the speakers. Mia tinkered with a broken alien tool she had taken from storage. Lucas read mission logs and kept making notes. Karen tried to sleep. David stayed alert, always looking for danger. Finally, they reached the station. It floated in silence, half lit by the distant glow of a dying star. It was big but looked broken. Parts of it were torn open like something had ripped through. Long black scars ran across its metal skin. "This doesn't look good," Tyler said. "No kidding," Mia replied. They docked carefully. The station showed no signs of life. No power, no movement, just cold metal and empty halls. David led the way inside, gun ready. Karen followed, holding a small light. Lucas and Mia brought up the rear, scanning for signals or power sources. The halls were dark. The air was gone. Whatever had happened here, it had been bad. They found the first body near the command center. It was not human. It was tall, with thin limbs and a skull-like helmet. It had died hard, weapon still in hand, eyes frozen in fear. Lucas checked the nearby console. It flickered for a second before dying again. "There might be data here," he said. "But we'll need to bring the systems back online." Maya looked at the walls. Strange symbols had been carved into them, not by tools, but by something else, something that didn't belong. "This isn't just a dead station," she whispered. "This was a warning." Karen stepped closer to the body. "What were you running from?" They moved deeper into the station. Every step echoed. Every shadow felt wrong. Then the lights came on. Not all at once, but slowly, like something waking up. A voice crackled through the speakers. Broken, distorted. Containment. "Failed." Then the floor shook. Something was moving inside the station, and it wasn't dead. The station groaned like a dying beast. Lights flickered in long, dark halls. The voice on the speaker crackled again. Weak, broken, but clear enough. Containment. "Failed. Evacuate." David raised his weapon. "We need to go. Now." They ran back toward the docking bay, but the path was changing. Walls shifted. Doors sealed. Something was moving inside the station. Something alive. Maya pointed at the floor. "Look." Black veins pulsed under the metal, spreading fast. Not wires. Not machines. Something else. Tyler reached the ship first. "I can get us out, but I need time." Lucas pulled open a panel and started rerouting power. "This place is waking up." Karen looked behind them. Shadows moved where there were none before. Shapes that didn't belong. "Move!" David shouted. One by one, they climbed aboard the ship. Lucas barely made it before the docking clamps released on their own. Tyler fired up the engines and pulled away just as the station began to twist. From outside, they watched in horror. The station folded in on itself like a piece of paper being crushed. A tear opened in space, black, deep, wrong. And from it, something stared back. Then the rift collapsed, taking the station with it. Back on their ship, silence filled the cabin. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Karen broke it. "What the hell was that?" Lucas shook his head. "Not sure I want to know." Maya stared at the screen. "But we have to find out." They returned to the Galactic capital, but no one wanted to listen. The council denied everything. They called the station a lost cause, told the humans to forget what they saw. But the humans didn't forget. Instead, they leaked everything. Ship logs, video feeds, audio clips, all sent to every news network, every independent channel, every rebel group willing to listen. The truth spread fast. Panic followed. Governments demanded answers. Colonies shut down trade. Fear gripped the galaxy. And still, the council did nothing. So the humans took action. They stole what they could. Data drives, old maps, pieces of alien tech. They found a hidden base on a forgotten moon. They started planning. If they won't fight, David said, then we will. Karen looked at the others. They were tired, scared, but ready. Then let's find out what we're fighting, she said, and with that they set course for the next signal, a distress call from a planet no one had heard from in months. Something was coming, and this time the humans were waiting. The signal led them to a dead system, one the Council had marked as abandoned. No ships, no stations, just floating rocks and silence. But something was there. As they approached, sensors picked up movement. Not ships, not life. Something else. This place feels wrong, Tyler said. It's quiet, David replied. Too quiet. They landed on the largest planet. It was cold, dry, and cracked like old glass. Ruins stretched across the land. Ancient towers, broken domes, and symbols carved into stone that looked too fresh to be old. Lucas scanned the area. Someone was here, recently. Maya pointed to a cave in the distance. That looks like an entrance. They moved carefully, weapons ready, lights on. Inside, the walls were lined with more symbols, the same ones they had seen on the station. Karen touched one. It pulsed under her fingers. This isn't just writing, she said. It's a warning. They found what was left of an old research base buried deep underground. Computers still worked, barely. Lucas hooked up his tablet and started pulling files. What he found made his blood run cold. This wasn't just a research team, he said. They were studying something that got out. The logs told a story of scientists who had found a way to open doorways, not through space, but through reality. They had brought something back, something that learned fast. They tried to contain it, Lucas said, but it broke free. David stood near a broken window looking at the dark sky. And now it's spreading. They didn't have time to process everything before the ground shook. Something was coming. Tyler checked his scanner. Multiple heat signatures, closing fast. They ran for the exit, but the tunnels were changing. Walls shifted. Lights died. The air grew heavier. Then they saw it. A shadow that didn't belong. It moved like smoke but had eyes. Many eyes blinking in and out of sight. Maya fired first. The bullets passed through it like mist. It's not solid, she shouted. Then, how do we kill it? Karen asked. There was no answer. David pulled the team back. We don't. Not yet. We run. They barely made it to the ship. The thing followed, sliding along the ground like oil and water. It reached for them, stretching, trying to get inside. Tyler fired the engines. The ship lifted off just as the creature touched the hull. And then it stopped, like it couldn't follow. They watched from orbit as the planet went dark. Not just night, but full, total blackness. Like the light had been taken away. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Karen said what they all knew. This is bigger than we thought. Lucas looked at the data. We need answers. David stared at the screen. Then let's find the ones who started this. And with that, they set course for the next lead. A name buried in the files. Someone had known about this from the start, and now, the humans were coming for them. The name from the files led them to a hidden world, not on any official maps, not even listed by the Council. It was a place forgotten by time, guarded by old tech and older secrets. They landed under cover of night, slipping past broken defense systems that hadn't fired in centuries. The air was thick, heavy like it didn't want them there. Trees, twisted in strange shapes. The ground pulsed under their feet like it was alive. Lucas checked his scanner. This place shouldn't exist. Maya adjusted her gear. Then we're definitely in the right spot. They moved toward the center of the ruins. What they found wasn't a city or a lab, but something older. A temple built into a mountain, covered in the same symbols they had seen before. Karen touched one. It lit up, then dimmed like it recognized her. This isn't just writing, she said. It's remembering. David stayed alert, watching the shadows. He didn't like this place. Nothing moved, but he could feel eyes on them. They entered through a cracked doorway. Inside, the walls were lined with statues, tall, thin beings with hollow faces and long fingers. Not aliens, not human. Something else. Lucas kept scanning. These carvings, they tell a story. He translated as best he could. The statues showed beings who once ruled beyond stars, who built gates between worlds. But they had made a mistake. They opened a door they couldn't close. They let something in, Lucas said. Maya pointed to the last part of the wall. It showed fire, death, and a single figure holding a light. Someone tried to stop it, she whispered. A noise echoed through the chamber. Not wind, not machines. Something moving. They turned. One of the statues was gone. In its place stood a shadow, tall, thin, with too many joints and eyes that blinked in and out of reality. Tyler raised his gun. That's not good. The thing moved fast. Not like a person, but like smoke forced into shape. David fired, but the bullets passed through. It's not solid, Karen shouted. They ran. The halls twisted behind them, changing shape, trying to trap them. Doors vanished. Walls moved. Lights died as they passed. Finally, they reached the exit and tumbled outside just as the sky cracked open. A rift formed above them. Black, deep, wrong. And from it, something began to come through. Not just one creature now, dozens, hundreds, maybe more. Karen looked up, heart pounding. We need to go. Now. Tyler was already running to the ship. I'm not arguing. They climbed aboard and lifted off as the ground below split open. From orbit, they watched the planet burn, not with fire but with darkness. Something ancient was waking up, and the humans were the only ones willing to fight it. But for how much longer? The rift kept growing. From orbit, it looked like a black wound tearing through space. Ships from every species tried to fight it, but they vanished the moment they got close. Weapons had no effect. Shields failed. Nothing worked, except humans. They didn't know why. Maybe because they were new. Maybe because they didn't follow the old rules. All they knew was, when others ran, they stood their ground. Karen sat at the command table looking at the map. Lucas worked beside her, pulling data from old files. Mia checked the ship's systems for the 100th time. Tyler sat near the window, staring at the stars. David sharpened his knife. Finally, Karen spoke. We have one shot. Lucas nodded. If we can get inside the core, we might be able to collapse the rift from within. Maya looked up. You mean blow it up? Yeah, David said, but from the inside. No one laughed. They had lost people, friends, allies, and they knew this mission might cost them everything, but they also knew if they didn't go, no one else would. They flew toward the rift in silence. The ship shook as they passed through. Colors changed. Sounds twisted. Time felt wrong. Inside, space wasn't space anymore. It was something else. Something alive. They found the prison at the center. A massive structure floating in the dark. Not built by anyone they knew. Not even by those who had come before. It was older. Much older. And it was breaking. Tyler kept the ship steady. This place gives me the creeps. Maya checked her gear. Then let's not stay long. David led the team inside. Karen followed. Lucas brought up the rear carrying the bomb, a crude thing made from fusion cores and stolen alien tech. They moved fast through the halls. Walls pulsed. Shadows watched. Something was waiting. Then it came. Not one creature, but many. Twisting, shifting, wrong. They fought. Bullets didn't work. Fire barely slowed them. Only light hurt them. Bright, pure, burning. Maya used an energy torch to carve a path. David covered their backs. Karen kept moving forward. Lucas reached the core. He placed the bomb. Set the timer. We have 5 minutes. They ran. The prison shook. Cracks formed. The walls screamed. They barely made it back to the ship. Tyler fired. The engines. The prison exploded behind them, taking the rift with it. Silence followed, then light, then stars. They were still alive. But they were changed. Back home, people cheered. Across the galaxy, stories spread about the humans who went where no one else dared. They weren't heroes. They were just people who refused to run. And now, the galaxy knew. When danger came from beyond the stars, there was one species that wouldn't back down: humans.